Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hopefully it was a successful Week 11 for most, if not everybody. Week 11 fallout. It might be the week of your league's trade deadline, so we can talk shop on that. Injury fallouts. And then anything else that we have going on. Quite a few things to get through, some big injury updates to talk shop on. Let's get those out of the way first, and we'll get right into it. The big ones from Week 11. Michael Penix is on injured reserve. Sounds like it's a potentially season-ending injury. Drake London will also miss at least 1 week. I believe that was a knee injury. Kirk Cousins will take over, presumably for the rest of the season for Atlanta. Yeah, we're avoiding all Falcons not named Bijan Robinson. Kyle Pitts is a drop in redraft leagues. You know, Darnell Mooney and Pitts really, I guess, should see expanded work, expanded volume in the absence of Drake London for however long that lasts. Cousins has looked absolutely cooked in the opportunities that he has had in 2025, so I'm not exactly optimistic or excited about this Falcons offense right now. It's Bijan Robinson, and that's it. That's all. That's all she wrote for Atlanta. Maybe Bijan will catch the ball a lot if they're trailing in a lot of games, which feels likely. Packers running back Josh Jacobs suffered a knee injury that forced him from their Week 11 game. He could play this week, potentially play in Week 12, but it sounds questionable at best. And then just to transition into the waiver wire topics for today, I'll give a high-level overview of guys that are probably widely available. Emmanuel Wilson is a top ad this week, not just for anybody with Josh Jacobs, but anybody needing running back depth in general. That's probably almost all of you, because what do I say every week? We all need running back depth. We always need running back depth. And then hopefully you have an IR spot for Jacobs in the event that he does miss a game or two. Jamar Chase has been suspended 1 game for spitting on Steelers defensive back Jalen Ramsey. There's not too much to talk about here. We all already know what happened. We won't have Chase for Week 12. Joe Flacco becomes significantly less of an appealing stream. I think they get New England this week anyway. T. Higgins is perfectly fine. Chase Brown is fine, but without Jamar Chase, obviously he can firmly be on your bench this week in a very disappointing development. But Flacco as well, even in Superflex leagues, I don't want to play him. Way less appealing without Chase. Chargers running back Kamani Vidal left the game early against Jacksonville and did not return. It's probably fair to say he wouldn't have done much of anything had he been able to finish the game. The Chargers offense was awful on Sunday. Vidal has the bye week to heal up, but also Amarian Hampton is reportedly close to a return. He shed his walking boot either last week or the week prior. The expectation is he will ramp up and potentially return as soon as Week 13, the first game out of the bye week for LA. Given the fact that the Chargers are on bye this week and Hampton is trending in the right direction, Vidal is teetering on drop territory. Obviously, hold him if you have Hampton. Maintain the handcuff, or if waivers are just like super thin in your league, which they certainly could be. But if you need the roster spot this week, you need a playable guy. It might be curtains for Vidal between injury and Hampton's return and the bye week this week. Calvin Ridley is out for the year with a broken fibula. He wasn't being held in too many leagues, at least redraft and keeper leagues. That is, he can be dropped in all of those. Hang on to him in Dynasty, I suppose, but his value could be completely used up at this point. Chimere DK also ruled out with a concussion, and I don't think he played in this. I think it was the entire second half that he missed for Tennessee. So a bad Titans offense gets even thinner. stream all defenses that you can against the Titans whenever the opportunity presents itself for the rest of the way. Unless it's like the Raiders defense, then I'm not as interested. So if you have Seattle this week, congratulations. You don't have to worry about your defense. Let's see. Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch in the Bills game. He was late for a team meeting. They didn't miss him. They scored 44 points. Dylan Gabriel was ruled out with a concussion for the Browns. Shedeur Sanders took over. Didn't go so well. Sanders is not on the radar to stream against the Raiders in Week 12. And I can barely suggest the Raiders' defense as a stream as well. Although, if Shedeur plays, it could be an advantageous spot for them. That's the injury fallout from Week 11. Let's talk shop on your overarching options at the waiver wire this week. If you need a running back, I already mentioned it. Emmanuel Wilson. He may only be a 1-week play, but Josh Jacobs, again, he's only potentially available for this week's game in Week 12. I think they're playing Minnesota. He's questionable at best by the sound of it. You may not have Jacobs this week with this knee injury. So Emmanuel Wilson becomes a priority add if you have Josh Jacobs. Maybe not priority if you don't have Josh Jacobs, but if you are hurting at the position, either from injuries or a bye week, there's 4 teams on the Week 12 bye. It's the Chargers, it's the Broncos, the Washington Commanders, and the Miami Dolphins. So if you have Devon Achane, if you have R.J. Harvey, if you have, Kamani Vidal, hopefully you weren't relying on Bill at this point, but if you have one of those names and or an injured player, Emmanuel Wilson, top option at running back this week. He may, obviously, if Jacobs goes, he may not be startable, but on the other hand, on the flip side, if Jacobs is playing at less than 100%, Wilson will have some type of role. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. If you have Jacobs, Wilson is the top ad. If you need running back depth, Wilson is a priority ad. Maybe don't blow all of your fab on him, but certainly worth a look. Bishal Tootin, another guy at running back who looked good, got a lot of opportunities. Of course, Jacksonville did blow out the LA Chargers, so that allowed for all of the running backs. LaQuint Allen got on the field as well and got some opportunities. But Tootin got 15 carries. He had, I think, his best week of his rookie campaign so far. Jacksonville gets Arizona this week. Nothing scary about that matchup. So Tootin's looking good as a running back pickup if you need one and you miss out on Wilson. Sean Tucker continues to get more and more work over the past couple of weeks. Rashad White, he kind of operates as the starter for them, but Sean Tucker has looked like the much better player for the past few weeks. Bucky Irving could be worked into practice a little bit more this week. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means he will play this week. I don't know if that means he will play in a limited capacity. I don't know if that means he will play with no limitations. I don't know if he'll be ruled out again for the 19th straight week. But especially if you have Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker is absolutely worth trying to get onto your roster. Hell, even if you have Rashad White, there are worse situations to be in than just having as many running back options available to you, and Sean Tucker has officially put himself on the map. Irving has missed so much time at this point that, it could be a little bit of a committee for a couple of weeks until he works his way back into game shape and taking over as the bell cow. That may not happen right away for Bucky, again, with all of the missed time. So Tucker, absolutely worth a look on waivers, again, if you're looking for some running back help. Those are probably the 3 names that I want to call out at running back. Emmanuel Wilson, Bishal Tootin, Sean Tucker. I only put Tucker third because Bucky seems to be trending toward a return, whereas Tootin just has ETN ahead of him. And could be carving out a larger role for himself, even with a healthy ETN in the lineup. At wide receiver, Michael Wilson went nuclear. We're not going to get a 15-catch, 180-yard performance again in all likelihood. But if you did happen to spot start him in deeper leagues, he may have won you your week with his performance. So he's looking good. I've not seen any update on Marvin Harrison. I don't know if he will be available to return this week after, was it appendicitis? Harrison's availability for this week is up in the air. Wilson would probably be my top add at wide receiver, depending on some of the other names available to you. If somebody like Alec Pierce got dropped because he was on his bye week, I would say that guy is the top waiver wire add. But then I would probably go Wilson and or Christian Watson, depending on your preference. Another 2 touchdowns for Watson this past week. It was a very good matchup, a very favorable matchup, but a good performance is a good performance no matter how you slice it. And he could remain the Packers wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season. Jaden Reed is still not back. Matthew Golden is a rookie. Dontavian Wicks is a depth player. Romeo Doubs is a solid player. He doesn't have the field stretching blazing speed that Watson has, so Watson absolutely worth rostering at this point in a lot of leagues. Certainly 12-team leagues and up, and some 10-team leagues as well. Quarterback would be Jacoby Brissett. I mean, the guy's been a QB1 since he entered the starting lineup. Arizona's not really winning games, but their offense looks significantly more competent with Brissett in there than Kyler Murray. So at this point, I can't imagine Murray comes back and is the starter. I think he comes back and is the backup. So Jacoby Brissett, definitely probably the top option, the top streaming option at quarterback this week. And is going to be on that radar for the rest of the season. Again, he's been on fire since the Cardinals named him their starter. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison comes back. Michael Wilson emerged as a solid player, confirming he looks like a solid rotational wide receiver, a solid contributor. There's decent enough weapons here, especially with the elite Trey McBride, for Brissett to keep putting up big numbers if you need a streaming option at quarterback. And then at tight end, I don't know. Check and see if Juwan Johnson is available, because if he was dropped after his bye week. Obviously, Tyler Warren wasn't dropped after his bye week, but Juwan Johnson might have been if you're looking for a streaming option. He's volatile. He's up and down, but I guess he does have touchdown upside. Okay, those are the injury updates and general waiver wire thoughts from me. Let's go ahead and kick it to you guys. But first, I got to do my spiel. If you have been here before, welcome back. Appreciate you always stopping by. If you are new, if you are here for the first time, welcome in. Thanks for thinking enough to come hang out. Members will get first priority in responses to their questions and comments. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. If you would like to become a member, you can find more details in the first link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. If you are in a hurry, you want to get a question answered, you could also send a super if you're feeling generous enough. That would also be a way to jump the line, get your question answered faster. Maybe you'll get a little bit more out of me as far as my response to you. If you send a super or become a member. If you are not a member and don't send a super, I see your questions. I will get to them, but you may be waiting for a bit. I do ask for some patience as I work through member questions and supers first. Whether you are a member or not, if you are enjoying the conversation, if you could just like the stream, like the live stream, that helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. I see my members. Members also get member shout-outs. That is, again, a perk. I see Greg. I see Kevin. So you know who I'm talking to, and you'll know if I'm addressing you specifically. I see Greg. I see Kevin. I see Sport Dog. And those are the members that I see so far. I will keep an eye out in case there are any other questions from the members. But appreciate it, guys, for coming in and hanging out. Let's talk ball. Glad to see you're 8-3, Greg. Like to see it. Let's see. You need to drop 2: Vidal, Stevenson, or Shakir. I would drop Vidal, Sport Dog. That's one of them. I'm tentative on dropping Stevenson. It'll be, obviously Travion Henderson is incredibly exciting right now. Maybe the most exciting player to own in fantasy, just based on expectations and the weight that it took to get to this point. That being said, we do need to see what this backfield looks like with Ramondre Stevenson back in the mix. We, of course, all want Travion Henderson to have taken over this backfield already. I want it as well. But we can't sit here and definitively say that that's going to happen, or that it has happened, at least not yet. The coaching staff was stubbornly, continuously going back to Ramondre Stevenson when he was healthy and when he was struggling. So we got to see how things shake out before we definitively just move on from Stevenson and anoint Travion Henderson. Trust me, I want to do it, but we haven't seen it yet. Now that the breakout for Henderson has happened, I'm very curious to see what this backfield looks like with Ramondre back in the mix. If we can get 50% to 60% of the snaps from Travion Henderson in Ramondre's return, which sounds like it's likely this week, I'll call that a win for Henderson. But I am expecting the Patriots to stubbornly go back to Stevenson in some capacity, whether we want them to or whether we like it or not. So hang on to Stevenson. I don't really want to drop Shakir either. But I guess I would drop Vidal, and then I'd be curious to know, Sport Dog, the rest of your team, just because if I do have to make a choice between Stevenson and Shakir, I guess Stevenson would be the drop. But I'd like to know maybe what the rest of your roster makeup looks like so that we're not dropping from a position of, because if we're dropping 2 running backs, that's a lot of depth to your running back we're potentially getting rid of. So I think I'd want to know the rest of your backs before I say drop both Vidal and Stevenson. Kevin, with the 4 quarterbacks on bye, Superflex starts are rough this week. So you may have to deal with like a Joe Flacco. Hopefully you don't. But yeah, it's certainly rough out there in the quarterback landscape. So I guess depending on what your situation is, if you are in Superflex, let me know and I can take a look at your situation. And appreciate the kind words, Kevin. Thanks for popping in. Let's see. You're open to dropping Parker, Washington, and Tez. Yeah, Tez did not have a good game. That was a windy game in Buffalo, so I don't hold it against him too much, but not a good performance. Well, Debo's on bye, Greg, so you are not able to use him this week, and I would keep Troy Franklin probably in as my wide. Oh crap, he's on bye. Okay, that's your point. Debo and Franklin are both on bye. I mean, you could play Parker Washington against Arizona. That should be fine. I feel like it was a quiet day for the Jags passing offense just because they boat raced the Chargers like from the beginning. Yeah, he only had 2 catches for 20 yards. I would expect with that Arizona Cardinals offense on the road that the Jaguars are going to throw the ball a little bit more this week. So probably Parker Washington, and then but Mooney, Wilson, Watson. Oh, okay. So Wilson and Watson are available. Yeah, I would probably if you can, I would just drop both of those guys, Parker, Washington, and Tez to try to get. Is that Michael Wilson? It doesn't matter if it's a Michael or Emmanuel Wilson. Let me know this week. Actually, Greg, I appreciate that you did this. Since there are 2 Wilsons on the waiver wire this week that are going to be popular, Emmanuel and Michael, let me know who you are referring to if you bring up either one of them. If you just say Wilson, that could mean Emmanuel, but it could mean Michael. So let me know. I assume this is Michael because of your question, Greg. You're trying to replace the wide receivers, but I'm just going to get it out there in the open for everybody. If your question pertains to a Wilson, let me know which one. I'll just say, pick up Wilson and Watson, Greg, and drop Washington and Tez. I'd be fine with that. I would be fine if you can get both. I honestly, either one is fine to prioritize whatever your gut tells you. Wilson got the great volume. He may take a back seat when Marvin Harrison comes back, but he may be more prominent for like a week or two if Harrison can't play. Watson could be the team's wide receiver one rest of season, but Jaden Reed is coming back, or is expected to come back in a couple of weeks anyway, so that could muddy things. Honestly, it's personal preference. I guess I'll slightly prefer Wilson just because I think Jacoby Brissett is outperforming Jordan Love right now. That is a comment that I did not expect to make in the year 2025, but here we are. So I may slightly prefer Wilson to Watson, but honestly, just grab both if you can. Just grab both if you can. And then for running back, yes, I would drop Chris Rodriguez for any one of those three guys, Greg. Put 3 waiver claims in. Put a claim in for Wilson, put a claim in for Tootin. If you need a guy this week, I would pony up a little bit more for Wilson. If you're looking for a guy long term, I may actually say Tootin is the guy that I prefer over Wilson because it sounds like Josh Jacobs avoided major injury. So I'm prioritizing Emmanuel Wilson for this week. If you need a guy, now I'm talking to all of you. If you need a guy for this week, it's Emmanuel Wilson. If you're looking for a guy like for the rest of the season, Josh Jacobs sounds like he avoided serious injury. So I'd rather have Tootin probably. I'll roll the dice on his upside rest of the way. I don't think the gap between him and ETN is not as far as the gap between Emmanuel Wilson and a healthy Jacobs is a bell cow. And ETN has been getting a lot of work this year, but Tootin, I think, is a greater threat to mix in as an exciting rookie in the second half of the season. Wilson, if you need a guy this week, Tootin for the rest of the season. So if you're talking for the rest of the season, I would prioritize Greg Tootin I would spend more fab on Tootin than Wilson. Shit. There goes hold on. Okay, I should be coming back. Stupid technology. My camera is so weird. It's got like a cord that like hangs down, and sometimes I gotta like shake it back and forth for it to work. But then it always works. But not touching it at all makes the picture go away. Stupid. Am I done with JJ McCarthy? Yeah. I mean, for this year, yeah. He looks awful. And he's submarining the Vikings offense along with him. Along with his poor performance. Look, I'm not calling JJ McCarthy a bust. He's like 21 years old. I think or 22. He's the youngest starter in the league. This could take time. He missed all of last year, and then he missed more time this year. He's basically only played like a true handful of NFL games. So I'm not going to call him a bust yet. But he does not look good. So, yeah, for the year 2025, I think I'm out on the Vikings in general. Obviously, if you have Justin Jefferson, you have to keep playing him. You have no choice. But this is probably going to feel like pulling teeth more weeks than not with Minnesota. I think Hawkinson is a drop. Addison's not a drop, but he's tough to trust. The running backs are tough to trust. This offense is I would move on from them other than Justin Jefferson. Unless you can get face value for Justin Jefferson in a trade. If you can get him for another wide receiver one, if somebody sees the name Justin Jefferson and just gets tunnel vision and you can get I know it's probably a pipe dream, but if you can get CeeDee Lamb or Amon-Ra St. Brown, like do it while you can still get out from the Vikings offense. Justin Jefferson is hella talented, one of the best wide receivers in football. This is not a great year to have him, and it's because of the struggles of the young quarterback. Yeah. So, yes, we're in lockstep with that comment, Kevin. Question comment. You have McCaffrey, Jalen Warren, Woody Marks, and Aaron Jones, Sport Dog. Okay, so McCaffrey's obviously is a stud. Warren's good but got hurt. Marks and Aaron Jones are decent depth, but not guys that I feel super strongly about. I don't want to cut Shakir either, Sport Dog. I guess let me know who your wide receivers are. I would cut Vidal because he's on his bye week and Amari and Hampton is coming back. But I don't want to drop Ramondre Stevenson. And then Aaron Jones had 16 for 70. That actually isn't that bad. But, you know, with a lack of scoring opportunities, he's probably more of like an RB3 than an RB2 week to week. I say this as a huge Aaron Jones fan. Those of you who have followed me for a couple of years, I'm sure you've heard me bring up my affection for Aaron Jones at some point or other. But he's older at this point. This offense doesn't look good right now. He's an RB3 flex, given the lack of scoring opportunities. Yeah, Sport Dog, let me know your wide receivers. If your wide receivers are loaded, I may tell you to cut Shakir. And I'm only saying this because it's an 8-team league. I wouldn't cut Shakir in 10 or 12-team leagues. All right, I think those are all the member questions. Oh, and yeah, Aaron Jones looks okay. I think he's just more of an RB3 because of the downside of the offense. Those are the member questions that I have and have seen so far. I will jump down to the bottom of the chat if I see any more, but for now, we'll go back up to the top. Trade Woody Marks for A.J. Brown. If your running backs are solid, yeah, at this point, sure, fine. Like, if that's the going rate for A.J. Brown, I guess I'll roll the dice on A.J. Brown. Here's the thing with the Eagles' offense, though, that I want to caution everybody on before you go and try and making any buy low offers on any Eagles, because their offense has been crap recently. Lane Johnson, I think, is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. They're starting right tackle. Historically, I'm paraphrasing, but feel free to go and look for yourselves. Historically and in recent history, when Lane Johnson has missed time for the Eagles offense, they have gone to complete shit. They don't play well when Lane Johnson is out of the lineup. So I would caution you on any acquisitions of any Eagles players. That being said, if you have good running back depth, Marks for A.J. Brown has got to be about as low a point acquiring A.J. Brown that there's ever been. So, like, sure, fine. Sure, fine. Marks, Harvey, and Brissett for Cook and Ertz. This one is a little bit more palatable. I don't know what your tight end situation is, but obviously you'd be turning these guys into an RB1. I don't know that you need Ertz. I don't know who your starting tight end is. I don't know who your starting quarterback is if you're trading away Jacoby Brissett. But to acquire an RB1 for a package like that, like because James Cook is a top-level RB1, that I could do as well. I don't know who your tight end is. I don't know who your quarterback is. Because I don't really want to acquire Zach Ertz as he enters his bye week. That feels like a true filler, unless you are streaming the position and are desperate for some stability. But if you can get James Cook, then sure, fine. Really quickly, I see you have a couple member questions, and I do have a super. Let me just answer this one really quickly because my answer is short. If someone is offering you Bucky Irving for Travion Henderson, that is a difficult move for me to make right now. Bucky may not be a 3-down back when he comes back, and Henderson, this will be the true test of, like, what does his role look like with Ramondre returning to the lineup? Does Rachaad White and Sean Tucker stay involved for a few weeks while Bucky is back? I could do this if you're in the playoff. If you are comfortably in the playoff picture, you're 8-3 or better, and you're getting ready for your playoff run, then okay, fine. You can wait for Bucky to ramp back up, and therefore I'm okay with doing the deal. If you're 6-5, 5-6, you're teetering on the playoff picture, the playoff bubble, I might keep Henderson. I think his role will stay a little bit larger for at least another couple of weeks while Bucky works his way back. Let's see. Coming down to my members and supers. Appreciate everybody's patience as I work through I mean, I gotta get through the members and supers. That's the perk. Michael Wilson, Watson, then yeah. I would say that's right, Greg. I would say that order is accurate. I would say that order is correct. I have a super from Ray. Appreciate it, Ray. Thank you so much for your generosity. Trade Devontae Smith and Travion Henderson for Stephon Diggs and Chase Brown. I would rather have Stephon Diggs right now than Devontae Smith. Stephon Diggs looks like an alpha wide receiver 1. Devontae Smith is a great player, but the Eagles' offense, again, historically struggles when Lane Johnson is out of the lineup, and he's going to miss some time with this. I think it's a high ankle sprain. I'm pretty sure I'm right here. Oh, it's a Lisfranc injury. That might even be worse. Lisfranc injury. Yeah, so Lane Johnson's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, and he's a 34, 35-year vet with the Eagles, today they're comfortably in playoff position. So let's go ahead and assume that Lane Johnson's going to miss 6 weeks. They're going to take their time and be cautious with him. They're not going to rush him back. This Eagles offense bottoms out without Lane Johnson. So I'd rather have Diggs than Devontae Smith. I guess right now, today, I would slightly prefer to have Travion Henderson than Chase Brown. That being said, we don't know what the backfield's going to look like when Ramondre Stevenson comes back, whereas with Cincinnati, we know that Chase Brown is the 1A with bell cow upside, and Joe Burrow is coming back. Plus, he might even see a little bit more work this week because Jamar Chase is suspended. I think I would do this deal. I think I would do this trade. You're getting out from if you're acquiring, yeah, and the way you're wording it, it looks like you're acquiring Diggs and Chase Brown. I think I would do this trade. I would rather have Diggs than Devontae Smith. Diggs has come on incredibly strong in the last couple of weeks, and the Eagles' offense is struggling, and now they're going to be without Lane Johnson for at least a month, probably longer. And then, Henderson, Chase Brown feels like a coin flip to me today, right now. But Chase Brown is getting Joe Burrow back and is already the definitive 1A top of the depth chart for Cincinnati. As much as we want to crown Travion Henderson that, the Patriots coaching staff may put some cold water on that when Ramondre comes back, which is as soon as this week. Henderson is great. I think he should be the Patriots 1A. I don't know that will happen. I know Chase Brown is the Bengals RB1. I would do this deal if I was getting the Stephon Diggs, Chase Brown side. I would do this deal. Appreciate the Super Ray. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. Let me know if you want me to follow up in any way on that question. Eddie Pinheiro. What? He did get hurt. Hamstring injury. Okay, he's going to miss time. So Eddie Pinheiro is a drop. Chase McLaughlin is fine. The Bucks are on a 2-game losing streak, excuse me. They get the Rams on Sunday Night Football in LA. That could be a shootout. Yeah, I would take Chase McLaughlin as the top waiver wire kicker option if he's available. He shouldn't be available. But if he is available, I would take Chase McLaughlin. Great matchup this week. And Eddie Pinheiro can be dropped. Sport Dog, J-Mo, Pickens, London, Shaheed, Quentin Johnston, Alec Pierce. I mean, do you just drop Quentin Johnston instead of Shakir? Is Shakir going to play this week? They play the Thursday game. He missed practice with personal reasons. Yeah, he should be fine. Shakir should play this week. I mean, Quentin Johnston, oh man. It's his second goose egg in 4 games. He's only cleared 50 yards receiving once in his past 6 or 7 outings. Sport Dog, I would cut your Chargers. I would cut Vidal and I would cut Quentin Johnston. I would keep Ramondre. Again, let's see what that backfield looks like when he comes back before we just move on from him outright. And I would drop Quentin Johnston. He has fallen off, and he's on his bye this week. If you really want to get him back, that shouldn't be a hard thing to do. Drop your Chargers. Drop your Chargers. That's what I would do. And Greg, you have the Patriots defense. They're playing Cincinnati without Jamar Chase. I think that's fine to keep them as is. Use your fab this week on running backs and wide receivers. Emmanuel Wilson, Baishal Tutin, Michael Wilson, Christian Watson, and then Chase McLaughlin. Don't worry about defense. Use your focus on those other players, the backs and receivers. And when do I start focusing on You mean playoff schedules, Kevin? When I know that I'm comfortably making the playoffs. Like when I don't have to look 1 week at a time. If I'm 6-5, I'm still looking 1 week at a time. If I'm 7-4 and there's a lot of 6-5 and 5-6 teams below me in the standings, I'm still looking a week at a time. If I'm 9-2 or 10-1 and I'm cruising, I'm in pole position for a bye week, sure, I'll start looking now. It's all situational. It depends on my situation. Like right now, I have a team where I'm 8-3. Yes, there's a person on my heels also at 8-3, but like fourth place is like under 500. Like fourth place is like 5-6. I'm in a league like that where it's like first place is 10-1. I'm 8-3. There's another guy who's 8-3 who's behind me in points, so he's third, and then fourth place is 5-6. So I'm looking at the playoffs. I'm tinkering my roster and getting ready for my postseason run. I have another league where I have the most points scored, but I'm 6-5 in fourth place, and I've got multiple people breathing down my neck right behind me in the standings. I'm looking 1 week at a time in that one. So it all depends. Yeah. Yeah, and this is a time of year when you want to keep an eye on young players who are getting more opportunities to play on teams who are out of it. That's not a bad move at all. Yeah, with players with teams at the bottom of the standings. Okay. Prioritize these waiver pickups: Gainwell, Tucker, Wilson. And I believe you confirmed earlier that is Emmanuel Wilson. Yes. Gainwell would be one. I guess Gainwell would be one because he seems to have a role in the Steelers' offense regardless of Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren is the 1A, but Gainwell is a solid contributor, and he may have an expanded role this week because Jaylen Warren left the game early to injury. That was another one that I forgot to bring up at the top of the show. I apologize. Jaylen Warren exited the Steelers game early. Apparently he was fine enough to go back into the game, but they held him out because they were being smart. I think that was something like the direct quote. They were being smart about it. I might go Gainwell 1, then Wilson, then Sean Tucker, if that's Sean Tucker. And not Trey Tucker. I didn't do a spiel about the Tuckers, just the Wilsons this week. I would say Sean Tucker is last, or Trey Tucker, because Bucky is apparently close to returning. I would go Gainwell 1, then Wilson, because I think Gainwell has more of a regular role than Wilson does when Josh Jacobs is healthy. So I would go Gainwell first, Wilson second, Tucker third. And the Steelers get the Bears this week. That's a pretty good matchup on paper, actually. Okay. Would I trade Saquon and Debo for Chase Brown and Rashee Rice? I might. I might do that. Obviously, you'd rather have Saquon than Chase Brown. But I think the gap between Rice and Debo is higher, is more significant. Yeah, I would do that trade. Because again, look, Saquon is a great individual talent, but he is not having the year that he had last year, and it might be even more difficult for him without Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson is such a huge part of what the Eagles do on offense that cannot be understated, and the proof is in the pudding. Look at their offensive performances over the past few years when Lane Johnson doesn't play. Meanwhile, you'd be getting Chase Brown at the time of an upswing because Joe Burrow is on his way back. And you get to upgrade from Debo to Rashee Rice, which is a wider gap than Saquon and Chase Brown. I would do this trade. I would acquire Chase Brown and Rashee Rice. So far, I'm 2 for 2 today, suggesting trading away Eagles. I would do this deal. The gap between Barkley and Chase Brown is not the gap. It's not super close, but it's pretty close. The gap between Rice and Debo is wider. Rice is so much more the preference to have than Debo. Yes, I would do that trade. Fortune and E111 popped in. What's going on, guys? Who are we talking about, Fortune? Which all three? Was there initial or whoever I was just talking about? Let me know who you're referring to. I don't see the three names. And then please prioritize from E111 Tucker, Gainwell, Rodriguez, Wilson, Knight. So Bam Knight's an interesting name to bring up. Amari DiMercato suffered a high ankle sprain. He's probably going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That's what he suffered, right? DiMercato suffered a high ankle sprain, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, high ankle sprain. According to Bleacher Report, high ankle sprain. That's typically a 4 to 6 week injury. So Bam Knight is intriguing, but also, I know we've received absolutely no updates, but Trey Benson could be making a return sooner than later. So I don't know about Knight. I would say Gainwell, good matchup against the Bears. Wilson, tougher matchup against the Vikings, and also he is enticing, but Josh Jacobs is not 100% ruled out just yet. I guess Jaylen Warren isn't either. But I think Gainwell has a little bit more of a role than Wilson does when Josh Jacobs is fully healthy. So I would go Gainwell, then Wilson, then Tucker, then Knight, then Rodriguez. I'm putting Rodriguez last because the Commanders are on bye, and that offense doesn't excite me without Jaden Daniels. I'll say Gainwell, good matchup, has a role, even with Jaylen Warren involved. Wilson could be a good spot start if Jacobs can't play, but Jacobs hasn't been ruled out yet. Tucker has looked good, has looked better than Rachaad White. Bucky could be returning, so I'll put him third. Bam Knight fourth. Arizona just hasn't run it very well, and Trey Benson could be coming back. And Michael Carter got more involved. Like, that offense or that backfield is a gross hodgepodge right now. So that's why I'm putting him fourth. Rodriguez fifth because he's on bye. Okay, and Fortune, I'll look out for the names that you were referring to. I didn't see which guys you were referring to. I am at this question. Do you drop Gadsden for Jawan Johnson? I mean, sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on who the other guys are on your bench. I mean, Gadsden, I don't want to let one stinker against Jacksonville cloud the fact that the Chargers' offense has mostly been very good this year, and Gadsden has been a top 6 or 7 tight end since his emergence into the starting lineup. So I don't know that I want to drop Gadsden, but I do want to pick up Juwan if Gadsden is your tight end, and you need a name for this week. I'm fine with picking up Juwan, but I would rather drop like the last wide receiver on your bench, depending on who that is. Like if it's Quentin Johnston feels like he's a safer drop than Gadsden, because Gadsden has been performing well at a position where there's more of a premium for talent. And then, do you drop Tez Johnson for Mooney? I would not. I don't think I would. I know Tez had a bad day. It was a windy day in Buffalo. I think he saw a lot of Tre'Davious White. That was a tougher matchup. I think better days are ahead for Tez. You don't have to play in windy Buffalo every week. He gets to play some of his games in sunny Tampa Bay. And he gets to catch the ball from Baker Mayfield. Darnell Mooney gets to catch the ball from a broken Kirk Cousins and an overall broken Falcons offense. I don't want the Falcons outside of Bijan Robinson. I don't want any Falcons. I think Pitts is a drop if you had him. I don't think Mooney is on the radar. I'll keep Tez. I'll eat one bad week from Tez and let's see what he can do next week. The weather will be much better. They're playing in LA. No concerns about weather. I'll hold on to Tez. Let's see. Is there how much fab to drop on Tootin? Is that this is a trade question. Trade Sutton and Woody for Waddle to get Waddle? Yes. Do that now. Do that yesterday. Like 100%. You have Gibbs, you have Henderson, you have Harvey. You already have Tootin and Wilson. Nicely done. Great stashes. Yes. Sutton has been underperforming, hasn't been great. Take advantage of the fact that Waddle had a bit of a down day in Madrid. He had a couple of drops. I don't care. I hate the international games. I talked about it on Saturday. They are fluky. They are weird. Waddle and Sutton are both on their bye week, so you're not losing anything there as far as wide receiver points, and you're upgrading big time at wide receiver with Waddle. Yes, I would do that trade. Your running back depth is fine. You upgrade from Sutton to Waddle, and then that way you don't have to rely on Brian Thomas for the rest of the season. You don't drop him, but you don't have to rely on him going to Waddle. Yes, I would absolutely do that deal. And I did answer this question. I would take Henderson if I am on the playoff bubble right now. I would take Bucky if you're sitting pretty. You're 8-3, you're 9-2, you're 10-1, you're coasting to the playoffs, because you can afford to wait for Bucky to ramp back up into full form. Sport Dog. Do I think they'll... No, London is not going to play. It sounds like London is already out this week. So, you're not... Or I think he's expected to miss a week. He's not going to play. He's week to week with a knee issue. Drake London is not going to play in week 12. He's not going to play in week 12. Just don't be relying on Drake London. And I'm not telling anybody to pick up Darnell Mooney because Michael Penix is on IR. I do not trust Kirk Cousins. I do not trust that offense outside of Bijan. And then, how much if you can get Tootin for $5, great. 10 is also fine. Honestly, he looks like a good rest of season grab as a rookie, trending up with a larger role in that offense. Let's see. Would I drop any of Dak, Dart, Bill, Monangai? Yes, I would drop Bill. I would probably drop Brian Robinson. He's not really getting any opportunities. I might drop Monangai too. Monangai is somewhat disappointing. He didn't look good this past week. He got the touchdown, but he had like 12 carries for 25 yards or something. He hasn't looked very good. I would drop Bill first. Don't drop Dak. Don't drop Dart. But I would drop Bill and I would drop Brian Robinson. Honestly, screw it. I would drop Monangai as well. I want most of those guys that you just mentioned. I want Michael Wilson. I want Bishal Tootin. I want Emmanuel Wilson if I need a running back this week and Josh Jacobs misses, which is possible, not confirmed, but possible. I want Sean Tucker if I have Bucky Irving, and honestly, he's probably a decent guy to end up with if you do not end up with any of the other names that I mentioned. Chris Rodriguez, not as much because they're on bye this week. You could probably just let him pass through waivers. Mooney, no, I'm not investing in the Falcons. That offense might be cooked for the rest of the year outside of Bijan. Depending on what you need, and maybe you need running backs because you mentioned Krosky Merritt, you mentioned Brian Robinson and Monangai as drops. I would prioritize Emmanuel Wilson and then Tootin and then probably Michael Wilson and then Sean Tucker. Actually, sorry. I might put Gainwell ahead of all of them because Jaylen Warren might also miss, and he has a solid role, it appears, with Pittsburgh's offense. Gainwell, then Emmanuel Wilson, then Tootin, then Michael Wilson, then Sean Tucker, in that order. But I would drop the 3 running backs you mentioned to try to make it happen. Whoever you can end up with. Thanks for tuning in. Gainwell is so. Okay, so you have them both. Okay, nice. So honestly, that's great. We don't have to make any other decisions at this time. You already had a successful waiver period ahead of week 12. I can't advocate though who to start just yet because if Jaylen Warren misses the game, then it's Gainwell. If Josh Jacobs misses the game, then it's Wilson. If they both miss the game, then I'm going to tell you how do we get them both in your lineup. And then if Jacobs and Warren both play, then they're both a little less enticing. So let's make that call later in the week. Let's get some definitive confirmations about availability. If Josh Jacobs misses the game, we want to play Wilson. If Jaylen Warren can't play, we want to play Gainwell. We just don't know yet. We don't know what their availability or status definitively looks like just yet. Let's see. I got the member questions. I got the super. Thank you again, Ray. 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Jennings, Wilson, Judy, Tyler Warren. Not Judy. Is that Michael Wilson? If it's Michael Wilson, then I would rather play Michael Wilson than Jawan Jennings. And honestly, I think I'd rather play Tyler Warren than Jawan Jennings as well. I just haven't been a Jawan Jennings guy. I know he's had like a decent stretch of games over the past couple of weeks. He had 6 for 54 against Arizona. He had 4 for 54, 6 targets. 6 for 71 and a touchdown week 10, 4 for 41 and a touchdown week 9. Yeah, I mean, but Ricky Pearsall is back. I don't trust Jennings. Ricky Pearsall's back. I know Pearsall didn't do anything, but it was his first game since like week 4. I'll give him a mulligan on that. I would play Wilson if it's Michael Wilson, and then I would play Tyler Warren in the flex coming out of his bye week because he's been a top 5 tight end. I don't love starting 2 tight ends or a tight end in the flex in general, but I'll make an exception if it's a top 5 tight end, which Tyler Warren is. Let's see. I got the member questions. Drop White or Jordan Mason for these guys, for those same names. Again, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with grabbing Wilson for Rachaad White. I'm okay with grabbing, honestly, any one of these are fine. Mason is not super enticing. If you want to pick up Tootin and to get rid of him, that's fine. My answer is the same. Whoever you can get rid of to add the names that you mentioned. If it's Bill, get rid of Bill. He's on his bye week and he's not been performing, so that's fine with me. Bill would probably be my number one drop. If it's Mason, fine. If it's Rachaad White, fine. If it's Brian Robinson or Kyle Monangai, fine. Get all the names get as many of the names that you mentioned that you can. Wilson, Watson, Tootin being the big names. Wilson, Watson, and Tootin are the big names. Let's see. You have May as your QB. So, no, I wouldn't worry about this far in advance. Drake May is a top 5 quarterback in fantasy right now. He is an MVP candidate in the NFL. Right now, Drake May is, and I know he was only okay against the Jets. They were able to run the ball with, relative ease, lots of success against the Jets. So Drake May didn't have to do as much this past Thursday night. So I'm not really worried about him. He's a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. He's matchup proof at this point. I'm not worried about who he plays. If he's on the road in Denver, okay, fine. Maybe we pivot off of that because that's a brutal spot. But other than that, I'm playing Drake May or on the road in Cleveland. Like, okay, that might be difficult. That might be challenging. But still, I mean, he's a star. He's a star. Drake May is a star. He's an MVP candidate. You play him. You play him. You just play him. I just saw the note that this is for a different team. Yeah, my answer remains the same. Drop White, drop Jordan Mason. If you can get Emmanuel Wilson. Actually, I would put Tootin first. If you can get Tootin, I would do that. Then Emmanuel Wilson, then Christian Watson. I would go Tootin first, then Wilson, then Watson. If it's for a rest of season hold. Wilson, if you need a guy this week. Tootin for the rest of the way. Tootin for the rest of the season. Tootin, Wilson, Watson in that order. Like, yes, drop Rachaad White, drop Jordan Mason. That's fine. That's totally fine. But yeah, if you have Drake May, ride the wave. Ride the wave. I'm not worried about him. He's a top 5 quarterback right now. I'm actually not scared of quarterbacks. Like, I'm not worried about quarterbacks in tougher matchups because that means that that could mean they have to throw a lot. Or they have to rise to the occasion to beat that team. Yeah, I'm not worried about May. He rocks. Let's see. I got the member questions. Browns defense or Packers defense this week. The Packers get the Vikings, right? I mean, that's a great matchup. The Minnesota Vikings do not look good right now. And it's a home game for Green Bay. The Browns get the Raiders, right, on the road. That's pretty good, too. Probably Cleveland. Either one is fine, but probably Cleveland. I mean, the Raiders, the Raiders' offense is awful. Geno Smith stinks. Their offensive line is bad. I mean, Myles Garrett could go absolutely bonkers against the Raiders' offense by himself. Probably the Browns, but either are a fine play. I don't mind the Packers against J.J. McCarthy, who looks overmatched right now. He looks overmatched right now. So honestly, either one is fine. Need a win or you're out. Do you trade Jamar Chase for Igbukah? Okay. So you're in dire straits. And Jamar Chase is doing you absolutely no favors. I mean, could you get greedy and try to ask for both? If you're giving up Jamar Chase because if it's definitive, it's like if you lose this week, you are mathematically are you mathematically eliminated from the playoffs? Like with a loss, it's not like you could, leapfrog somebody with a couple of wins and score a lot of points. Like if you are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs with a loss this week, which I guess is possible with 8, that would be 8 or 7 losses. But wouldn't 7-7 should be in the playoff mix for most leagues. Maybe you have a lot of people in your league with good records. If you would be mathematically eliminated, a loss means you are done. You are 0% chance. There's no way for point differentials to mix in if you win out. Then fine, trade Jamar Chase for Emeka Igbukah, but I would try to get an extra piece just to give you something else because Jamar Chase is a top 3 receiver in football. Igbukah is top 10, but it is if somebody did a Jamar Chase for Igbukah 1-for-1 straight up, in most scenarios, people would say that doesn't smell right. I would see if you can get an extra. If you could get both, could you even offer Jennings? Could you do Chase and Jennings for Igbukah and Olave? Trade Jennings as well and make it a 2-for-2 swap. Could you at least do that? If not, Chase for Igbukah is fine. You're justified if you're mathematically eliminated. That's a tough pill to swallow. Jamar Chase did you no favors, and I apologize about that. Well, it's not my fault Jamar Chase decided to spit on Jalen Ramsey, but all the same, I can empathize. Yeah, if you are done with a loss this week, no matter what happens weeks 13 and 14, and you need somebody, I would offer Chase and Jennings for Igbukah and Olave. I would try to make it at least a 2-for-2 swap. What's going on, Crumply Heads? Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Fortune, I still haven't seen the 3 startables you were talking about earlier, so let me know. Got some of the member questions. You have Dart and Flacco. Yeah, obviously we kind of want to move off of Flacco with no Jamar Chase. I feel much worse about him as a streaming option this week. Love against the Vikings. Okay, fine. Lawrence against the Cardinals. That could be okay. Like, the Cardinals are scoring lots of points. That could force Lawrence to throw the ball more. Not that I trust Lawrence. I don't trust Shuck. And Bryce Young just had a monster game. A monster performance against the Atlanta Falcons. Hell, maybe you do play Shuck because the Falcons just gave up 450 passing yards to Bryce Young at home. Bryce is at San Francisco this week. They're a beatable defense, but that is a little bit of a tougher spot for them, I feel like. I don't want to say Shuck. I'll say Lawrence. That doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good, suggesting Trevor Lawrence, but it is a matchup where the Jags could be forced to keep pace with the Cardinals offense, who, again, they've been significantly better with Jacoby Brissett under center. The passing offense, anyway. Maybe Lawrence. But, yeah, obviously, I guess ultimately the hope is Dart comes back this week because he's obviously who you're starting if he's healthy. What are we doing with the Tampa backfield? Well, if you have Bucky, you could pick up Sean Tucker if you have a roster spot. You can drop Rachaad White if you have him. I mean, I guess you can wait to see if Bucky will be available to play this week. But honestly, Sean Tucker is probably the only thing. Rachaad White might be viable this week if the Rams get up with a solid lead on Tampa and they find themselves throwing and they put Rachaad White in there as the pass-catching back. But even still, Sean Tucker has looked a lot better the past couple of weeks. I think it's fair to drop Rachaad White for Sean Tucker or just add Sean Tucker if you can as the Bucky owner. But if you have the roster spot, you could add Sean Tucker. And then as far as start-sit on these guys, I mean, maybe Michael Wilson, if Marvin Harrison comes back. I would encourage you to come back later in the week when we know more about injury updates from around the league. If Marvin Harrison is out another week because of his appendicitis, then probably Michael Wilson, but we don't know yet. Wandale could be viable. Whether or not Dart is back. But, that matters. If Dart plays, maybe he'll feel a little bit better about Wandale. We got to see injury updates before we definitively make the call on who to start. So I do encourage you to come back later in the week if you can. I will be live again on Thursday, ahead of Thursday Night Football, ahead of Bills-Texans. That's the matchup, I think. 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll have at least a couple of days of injury updates at that point to make a little bit more definitive calls on start-sit. And then, of course, the start-sit live stream on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Let's see. How does the fab order look, Greg? Shaver. I'm not putting Shavers ahead of, I would imagine Keon Coleman works his way back into the lineup, although Shavers did have a nice catch for a score, so who knows. Michael Wilson, Watson, Tootin. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me. That's fine with me because I think you need wide receiver depth a little bit more than you need running back depth. So I'm fine with prioritizing Wilson and Watson over Tootin in your specific scenario. If you were loaded at wide receiver and hurting at running back, I would tell you to prioritize Tootin. But I know you're hurting a little bit more at wide receiver, so prioritize the receivers. Is that Nemo? Little rebrand to Darius. Good to see you. McCaffrey's your workhorse. Good. Would I trade ETN and Devontae Smith for Pickens and Harvey? Yes, I think I would. Yes, I think I would. Again, I'm worried about the Eagles' offense. I'm worried about all of them. I'm happy to say it again. I've said it a couple times on the stream. I will say it for anybody just joining or maybe who missed it. The Eagles' offense historically struggles when Lane Johnson does not play. He is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a Lisfranc injury. I'll go ahead and say right now it's going to be of the 6-week variety absence because of the position the Eagles are in the playoff picture and Lane Johnson being a bit of an elder statesman. If I can move off of my Eagles for what I feel like are comparable players, those comparable players probably are going to feel like an upgrade given the circumstances around Philly's offense. ETN for Harvey feels like it's a little bit of a gamble, but Harvey got a pretty good opportunity this past week in a tough matchup against Kansas City. J.K. Dobbins is not walking through that door. Yes, they're on bye this week, so you're not going to be able to use him for a week, but I would imagine the Broncos are going to do everything this week to focus on getting R.J. Harvey up to speed, ready to go to lead the backfield the rest of the way. They have a beautiful matchup Week 13 against Washington. I expect Harvey to take advantage in that spot with a week off and more time to kind of, mold himself as the team's 1A without Dobbins. So you can kind of sell on ETN while Tootin on the flip side appears to be potentially carving out a role of his own at the expense of ETN's workload. You are getting off of Devontae, upgrading to Pickens, and rolling the dice, moving from ETN to Harvey. I like that trade. I would take the Pickens side. I would take the Pickens side. Do you know Pickens has more receiving yards than CD does since CD came back from the injury? Now, obviously, some of that might be CD. He hasn't been to full health, but still, Pickens is having a great season. The Eagles are not having a great offensive season. I would be happy to get Pickens and Harvey for that trade. Yeah, I would do that. I would do that. I would do that deal. And then Brissett or Bryce this week. Yeah, Brissett carved up San Francisco and Bryce carved up Atlanta. So, like, they both look like decent options. I kind of like Brissett at home against Jacksonville. It's a pretty good matchup. And if he gets Marvin Harrison back, I'll like him even a little bit more. If he doesn't have Marvin Harrison, I still may prefer Jacoby because he's at home. That is a home game for Arizona, right, this week against Jacksonville? I'm pretty sure it is. It is. It's a home game for Jacksonville. Kind of like the passing offense there, tentatively. Bryce Young, it'll be a second straight road game. Both should be fine, but I think I slightly lean Jacoby. And yeah, hero running back. I mean, McCaffrey is certainly capable. If you have McCaffrey, yes, you can go hero running back where you kind of piece together your RB2 spot and try to prioritize just loading up on wide receivers. That's totally fine. Okay, where else are we at? Again, I got to get member questions first, but I see everybody's questions. I promise I will get to them. Jones, Pittman, Henry, and Brees for CD, ETN. I'd rather have the Jones side. It's a significant 4 for 2. Obviously, CD Lamb is the best player in this trade, but I'd rather have Henry and Brees than ETN. You're giving up a quarterback who has been good and has a great playoff schedule. Daniel Jones has a great playoff schedule. Just throwing that out there. And then Pittman, he may have fallen down the depth chart a little bit, but he's still decent depth. I don't think I want to do that 4 for 2. If it was CD and like James Cook, you were getting like 2 all-stars, okay, fine. ETN's not in that category for me of running back. I'd rather keep Henry and Brees and Danny Dimes. Great. Go ahead and go. If you have Daniel Jones and you're not familiar, go take a look at his playoff schedule. Give yourself some eye candy. Oh, you'd be trading the CD side. Yeah, then I guess I answered your question either way. I like the Henry side. Yeah, I like the Henry side. And if you're acquiring Pickens to offset CD Lamb and then getting Henry and Brees, I'm all in on that. I like that. I like that. I'm fine with that. I would do, if you can make both deals happen, I would do that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And then, yeah, Chris Rodriguez, I wouldn't even put a waiver claim in. He should pass through waivers. He's on bye this week. Oh, he's in both. Oh, he's involved in both trades. Crap. Would I rather do ETN and Devontae for Pickens and Harvey, or would I rather do CD and ETN for all of those other guys? That's tough without knowing the rest of your roster. Let me know your full roster. Let me know your full roster, and I'll I'll make a definitive call on which trade I prefer. Oh, you have Chris Rodriguez on your bench. You can hang on if you want to, but I'd prioritize those guys that are available now. Chris Rodriguez is not on a... Yeah, he might be RB1, but he's an RB1 on a bad offense. Yeah. Okay. You're considering dropping DJ Moore. That's fine. Pitts. That's definitely fine. Or Pierce. I don't want to drop Pierce. I'm holding Pierce. Yeah. So I would say Gainwell, because I think Gainwell's a little bit more. Let me see Gainwell's snaps. I think Gainwell's a little bit more involved than Emmanuel Wilson is when Josh Jacobs is healthy. Gainwell, 34, 39, 38, 37, 52, 63. He saw a little bit more opportunities this past week because Warren was out. Wilson, 71, 21, 32, 42. Yeah, Gainwell has more of a role currently than Wilson does when Jacobs is healthy. I would say Gainwell is 1, Wilson is 2, Tucker is 3. Gainwell and Wilson could both start this week, but Gainwell has more of a role even when Jaylen Warren is healthy. So Gainwell 1, Wilson 2, because Jacobs might miss. Kevin, hang on to Darren Waller. I'm almost rather just pick up Greg Dulcich. He's playing right now. Unless have we received any updates on Waller? Expected to return this year. That was almost a month ago. I would almost rather pick up Greg Dulcich, Kevin. He's the one who's actually playing right now. And then if Waller comes back, you could cut Dulcich for anybody else who may emerge between now and then. I would pick up Dulcich, not Waller. Yeah, they say Waller's going to return this year, but that was a month ago. The Dolphins stink. Waller just unretired this year. I don't know. I'll take a shot on the younger guy who has been playing recently in Dulcich. Okay, Jacoby, McCaffrey, Etienne, Monangai, Charbonnet, and then Lamb, Smith, Pierce, Jawan. I would take... I might take the second trade. Where you send CD, where you send CD, which I know is a tough pill to swallow. If you had like Drake May as your quarterback, or Lamar, or Josh Allen, I know Lamar was bad against the Browns, but he's still Lamar. If you had like a frontline stud quarterback, then I wouldn't worry as much about the acquisition of Daniel Jones. Jacoby has been great, but he is also a 32-year-old journeyman. He could turn into a pumpkin at any time. I think I like having Daniel Jones for some flexibility there at quarterback for your playoff run. And again, his playoff schedule rocks. I think I would do that second trade. Where you send Lamb and Etienne, you beef up running back with Henry and Brees. Wide receiver will be hurting a little bit. You could still probably make another trade to get you could probably cut Stroud to pick up a wide receiver. You could probably drop one of Jawan or Barner to pick up a wide receiver and just rock with one of them. But I think that second trade fills your team out pretty nicely. And hell, honestly, you could try to turn Brees and Devontae Smith into Pickens or something, and I would be okay with that after you trade ETN. so they don't totally lose. You could still have your cake and eat it too. What's going on, Bobby? And I do see everybody's questions. I will get to them. Appreciate everybody's patience. Got to get to the members first. You were offered Brees and London for Jacobs and Jefferson. This is a hodgepodge of slop right now. London is hurt. Jacobs is hurt. Jefferson is in a bad part of town with the current state of the Vikings offense. Brees is fine, but he's on a bad offense. Nah, this doesn't move the needle for me, Bobby. I know Jacobs may not play this week, but you should have Emmanuel Wilson. I'm pretty sure you do, so you could just pivot to him if you have him. I would say no. I don't want to trade for Brees and London. London may not play multiple weeks. Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that trade. Yeah, you have Wilson. No, don't make that trade. Don't make that trade. Because when Jacobs comes back, you can go right back to Jacobs. I don't want to acquire an injured London catching the ball from Kirk Cousins for the rest of the year. No. Any trades involving anybody acquiring Drake London, say no. Say no. Absolutely not. Not with him injured and Kirk Cousins, probably starting the rest of the year. Would I pick up Jawan Johnson? No. I mean, you've got to have other better options than that. I don't want to start two tight ends. You could play J-Mo. You could play Pickens. You could play Pierce. If it's two receivers in a flex, I would play Pierce over Jawan Johnson. No, I'm not playing Jawan when you already have Bowers. I don't want to play two tight ends. Alec Pierce rocks. He deserves to be in starting lineups. All right, let me get back up to my spot for the non-members. I already got this one. Gainwell, then Wilson, then Tucker. Yeah, I would go Gainwell and Wilson. Gainwell already has a consistent role in that offense. Wilson might get a spot start. Maybe gets a lot of work if Jacobs is active, but less than 100%. I would prioritize Gainwell. Because if Jaylen Warren comes back, Gainwell plays more than Wilson does when Jacobs is healthy. Got it. Would I drop one of these defenses for a waiver pickup? Yeah, you could. I mean, the Packers are probably the better hold rest of season. I got to look at their playoff schedule. I actually don't know it. But, they have Micah Parsons. They have a good pass rush. The Rams have a good one as well, but they don't have as... I know that the Rams' schedule isn't great. It's okay, but it's not great. I don't want to play the Packers week 13 against the Lions. Week 14 against the Bears. That's okay. Denver, week 15 on the road. That's not bad. Bo Nix hasn't been great. The Bears on the road. And then Baltimore at home, week 17. I don't love having to play Lamar, but at least it is a home game. I'll take it I'm just going to take this 1 week at a time for now. I'll play the Packers this week. They get the Vikings, who are struggling. The Rams are playing the Bucs this week, who have a good offense. So I slightly lean the Packers this week. Neither one of them have like a slam dunk schedule, though, that makes me want to say, yeah, hold them the rest of the season. But if I had to pick one, I guess I'll pick the one that has Micah Parsons in it, the Packers. Bo Nix is on bye this week. Would I pick up Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, or Tyler Shuck? Yeah, I got a very similar question to this earlier, and I said Trevor Lawrence. It feels kind of gross, but there should be some decent volume there against Arizona, who is scoring a lot of points. Shuck is in a decent spot against Atlanta. They just gave up 450 passing yards to Bryce Young, so he should be fine. And then Bryce Young, speaking of Bryce Young, he's got a good matchup against San Francisco, but it is on the road for the second straight week. That's going to be a tougher test, I feel like, for the Panthers offense, even with the 49ers injuries. I'm tentatively going to say Lawrence. I don't love it. I'm not going to lie. I don't love it. I'll say Lawrence. And then do you start Watson or Pierce? I mean, this one feels pretty cut and dry. I think I'm going to Alec Pierce has emerged. I mean, he looks really good. I know he didn't play last week, but he looks like he's emerging as the team's, like, one of his team's top 2 threats consistently week over week. Probably Pierce. But obviously, let's go through the week and see practice reports and injury updates and all that good stuff before we make a definitive call. But I'm thinking Pierce early. Who do the Colts have this week coming out of their bye week? The Chiefs. Could be a shootout. Tough matchup, but could be a shootout. I'll probably take Pierce. Prioritize, yeah. So a lot of the usual suspects as far as waiver wire questions this week. It depends on your team's makeup. Are you strong at running back? Then pick up Michael Wilson. Are you weak at running back? Are you hurting at running back? Injuries, bye week, etc. Then pick up Emmanuel Wilson. And if you miss on Wilson, pick up Sean Tucker. I like all of these waiver wire options this week. There's many intriguing names. Both Wilsons, Bishal Tootin, Kenny Gainwell. I like all of these names. They're all good options. Alec Pierce, if he was dropped, I can't imagine he was dropped, but if he's out there, make sure to grab him. Sean Tucker, these are all good names. Prioritize what is the weaker position group on your team. It just depends on what a greater need is for your squad. Because I think all things equal, these guys are pretty similar as far as intrigue. It just matters what you need. If you need a wide receiver, grab Michael Wilson. If you have Josh Jacobs, then prioritize Emmanuel Wilson. If you need running back depth in general, bye weeks, injuries, then pick up Emmanuel Wilson. Sean Tucker as a fallback. It all depends on your specific team needs. And that goes for everybody. You have Gibbs, Javonte, Jacobs, JSN, Pickens, and Gadsden. Well, what would you be trading them for? You're talking about 2 RB1s, and you have good wide receivers in JSN and Pickens. So, what are you getting for those guys? Are you getting Trey McBride? Okay, cool, fine, maybe. Are you getting another running back? Which one? And I don't necessarily think I want to. I'm not automatically selling Jacobs or Javonte. So, yeah, it's that's a loaded question. I don't really want to trade running back depth away unless I'm getting something really damn good, especially if I don't get a running back in return. So it depends, but I'm not dying to trade either one of them. You have CD and Ferguson on your team. How much? I mean, you're playing CD, and so you're hoping for a wide receiver 1 performance. Play Fant Stranger. No, I would play Ferguson. He's a better player. He's in a better situation. I would play them both. The Eagles have a great defense, but the game is in Dallas. Play your Cowboys. And whatever. It's a revenge game for Dallas. They lost to the Eagles at the beginning of the season. They have a good offense. Like, they'll be fine. You play Ferguson over those other names. You play Ferguson over those other names for sure. I'm not worried about that matchup. And then again, I will have a better answer for a question like this when we have injury updates. Is Marvin Harrison going to play for the Cardinals? That alters my thoughts on Michael Wilson. Is Kayshon Boutte going to come back for the New England Patriots? That alters my thoughts on Mac Hollins. Leggett and Coker, I don't think I can necessarily trust them after one performance. So it would come down to Wilson or Hollins for me in all likelihood, and it depends on the availability of their teammates. They both had guys miss the game last week. So if Harrison can come back, that changes things for Arizona. If Boutte can come back, that might change things for Mac Hollins in New England. Let's see what happens later in the week. I got the member questions. I already got this one. It depends on your team makeup. But if you need me to rehash anything, let me know. I appreciate everybody's patience as I work through these questions. If you think I didn't miss a question, but if you missed my response or if you want more context, just let me know, and we can talk shop. No, Justin Tucker will never kick in the NFL again. They will find somebody else. I don't, and I don't want to really get into the off the field stuff. I can't imagine he kicks again. I mean, I guess he could. It's the NFL. I'm not holding my breath on that. The allegations are very serious. The allegations are very, very serious. See if Chase McLaughlin is on waivers. He probably isn't, but somebody told me earlier that he was, so maybe he is in other leagues as well. I wouldn't be holding my breath on that one, though. Got all the member questions. Thank you again, Darius, Greg, and Kevin, and Bobby. Let's see. You're 5 and 6, need to win to make playoffs. Do you trade London and Allen for Olave and Franklin? So Franklin is on bye this week, so you're not going to have him. London is hurt, so you're not going to have him this week, and you may not have him multiple weeks. And even if you do get him back, he's going to be catching the ball from Kirk Cousins instead of Michael Penix, which isn't great, even though London has been a stud this year. Olave comes back from his bye week. It's not a great offense, but he did catch a bomb for a score in their last game. And he does present he is an upgrade over Keenan Allen. I guess he's a big upgrade at this point over Drake London, too. Yeah, I would do this trade. Because if you need to win out, London's not going to help you this week. And Keenan Allen has become kind of like a wide receiver. Actually, Keenan Allen's not going to help you this week either. He's on bye, and even if he was playing, he's become something of like a wide receiver 4. He has fallen off pretty good. I don't love acquiring Olave, but if you're getting him at the expense of unloading an injured Drake London, who will come back if he comes back healthy to a broken Falcons offense, and Keenan Allen, who's a wide receiver 4, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that trade because Olave helps you this week. If you need to win, then sure. Make the trade where at least in the trade, one guy is available to play this week, and that's the guy that you're acquiring. And London feels like a sell. Maybe don't like sell at all costs, but I'm certainly not acquiring him. And I don't love his outlook rest of the way, given the injury to Penix and his own injury. Plus, the team is like 3-7. So, if London's looking at a multi-week injury and the Falcons keep losing games, it's not out of the realm of possibility they shut him down. So I'm okay with moving off of him if you get a good offer. Are we at the end of the chat? We're at the end of the chat. We did it. We all did it. All of us collectively together. Okay. So there's no wait for questions as of right now. Obviously, if I get like 5 in a row, then sorry to the 5th person. You may have to wait a bit. But there is no wait for questions right now. I'm happy to take any. Let me see if there are any other... Do we have any more headlines since we kicked this thing off? Brendan Rice to sign with the Seahawks. Oh, C.J. Stroud is out this week on the short week against Buffalo. He is expected to be ready next week, week 13. Just as an FYI. And Dalton Kincaid is probably not going to play this week either. He missed week 11 with a hamstring injury, so don't expect Kincaid to play. It'll be another week of Dawson Knox, I guess. Will Pearsall be viable this week? I mean, he should be more viable this week than he was this past week. That's the best that I can do, though. He missed 7 weeks, right? He hasn't played since before Sunday. He hadn't played in almost 2 months. So it's not surprising that he didn't really do anything. And as it turns out, the 49ers handled their business pretty easily against Arizona, so they ultimately didn't need him for the full game. I would think he becomes more viable week over week. I don't know if he's maybe a fine PPR start this week. He's probably a tougher sell in half PPR, but at least that catch bonus boosts his floor a little bit more. But, we're going to have to take it 1 week at a time with him. I would definitely play Alec Pierce over him for sure. Alec Pierce looks like the Colts wide receiver 1 right now, or at least he did in Berlin when the Colts beat the Falcons back in week 10. They were on their bye this past week. Pierce looks good. He has emerged. He has developed. The Colts offense rocks, right? They're one of the top offenses in the NFL. I want a piece of that pie. Alec Pierce. There's a joke in there somewhere about Pierce and peace being a piece of the pie. I'm going to shut up. Alec Pierce. I would rather play Alec Pierce while Ricky Pearsall continues to work his way back. Yeah. And then we'll see how things shake out. We'll see how things shake out. We just got to keep watching. We got to keep seeing how Pearsall responds to coming back and missing almost 2 months. Oh, your deadline is in 2 days. Yeah, I would make the trade to acquire Olave. If you need bodies this week and you can trade injured dudes and bye week dudes to get healthy dudes who are playing this week and you need to win out, then yeah, it's like, okay, fine. I'm going to pull the trigger. This one is straightforward for me, actually. I will tell you if I know I punt a lot of start-sit. I know a lot of you guys ask me start-sit questions on Tuesdays, and often it's not uncommon for me to punt them to Thursday or Saturday, but that's because I feel like I need more information in the context of your question. There are some questions I get where it feels cut and dry for me even this early of the week. Rice, stud. Diggs looks like a top 15 guy rest of the way. And J-Mo against the Giants with no Sam Laporta. I'm playing those three definitively. A.J. Brown can go on the bench. David Montgomery's in a good matchup. I will say that. David Montgomery is in a good matchup in standard scoring at home against the Giants. If you wanted to play him over J-Mo, I would be okay with that, but I would probably play those 3 wide receivers. Not Olave, not A.J. Brown, and not Woody Marks. Woody Marks, he did nothing in a great matchup against Tennessee. But I would tentatively say those 3 wide receivers. Montgomery is fine if you want to get a running back in there in standard scoring. At home against the Giants, he should do well. Montgomery should do well. Yep, no problem. There was a Pierce of the... Yes, the American... Yeah, he's got it. Yeah, that warm apple pie scene. There it is. Pierce of the pie. You can talk about Jason Biggs and his apple pie and American Pie 2. Excellent reference. Maybe I'll make that Alec Pierce's nickname on Sleeper in the spots that I have him. Christian Watson, Emmanuel Wilson, or Bam Knight. So yeah, again, it depends on what you need. Are you hurting at running back? Do you have Josh Jacobs? If the answer to either one of those questions is yes, then prioritize Emmanuel Wilson. And then Bam Knight second. I'd rather have Wilson. The Cardinals' running back room is a hodgepodge. And then, or do you need wide receivers? Do you have a lot of wide receivers on bye this week? Or are you hurting at wide receiver in general? Then prioritize Christian Watson. If all things are equal, I'm always going to advise or suggest the running back, just because we all need running back depth, right? You're good at running back until you're not. So it depends on your team needs, your roster makeup. What's the strength of your team? Is there a weakness? Is there a clear weakness between your running back room and your wide receivers? If the answer is yes, prioritize addressing the weakness. Because I'm fine. There's a lot of pickups I like this week. I like Emmanuel Wilson. I like Kenny Gainwell if he's still available. I like Bishal Tootin. I like Michael Wilson. I like Christian Watson. There's a lot of good options. So for me, it just comes down to, what do you need? Sean Tucker would be another one. Comes down to, what does your team need? And then go from there. Everybody. And then any news on Trey Benson? I think I saw that it's like Benson's updates have been really annoying because they've all been like, you know how you get the little icon next to their name and it flashes a new color when there's an update? Every time I've clicked on it when I've gotten a new update for Benson, it's like, ooh, he could come back in week 10. Oh, he might come back in week 11. And now it's like, oh, is Trey Benson nearing a return for week 12? It's like, we have gotten nothing definitive on him. Benson is a candidate to have his activation window opened in the near future. So I'm going to go ahead and say Benson is probably not going to play week 12, but maybe he can come back week 13. The updates on Trey Benson's status have been awful. They've been nothing for weeks now. Hopefully we get some clarity soon, whether we get a practice window activated or some type of injury status on Wednesday or Thursday of practice. The Benson updates, or lack thereof, have been pretty frustrating because they haven't been updates. It's just been like, well, he might come back this week. Who knows? But also probably not. It's been very annoying. Yeah, it's been very annoying. And then do I think Kate Otten will have a... it's a good... I feel better about the Bucks offense this week than what transpired this past week. It was a bad weather day in Buffalo. I think the wind was whipping around pretty good. I think that made things difficult for the passing game. And a lot of guys suffered as a result. That's not totally surprising. This week they're going to play in LA. No weather issues, no weather concerns. I feel much better about Igbokwe, Tez Johnson, Cade Otton. Not Chris Godwin if he comes back. He's missed so much time. But yeah, I would be feeling much better about your Bucks now that they get to play in a game where the wind will not be as big of a factor as it was. The weather and the elements were a major, major factor in that Bills game this past week. And the Bucks they didn't adapt to it well on top of, having to play Buffalo. They didn't do well in the weather. No such issues this week. In LA Sunday night, no problem. So yeah, I feel better about the Bucks. I do. And then do I think Wilson will playing this week? Do you mean start this week? Because he's going to play. I don't think he has an injury designation right now. It's Jacobs who may not play. Is Wilson Wilson didn't pick up an injury. Yeah, no, he's not on the injury report. If you mean start, yeah, we haven't gotten any definitive word on Josh Jacobs yet. We don't know. The Twitch bots are coming in. If I have any moderators in here who can kill that, best viewers, whatever the hell that is, that would be great. As far as does he start this week, we got to see about the availability of Josh Jacobs. It sounds like Jacobs could miss week 12. Maybe he suits up and plays because he's a baller. I would assume Jacobs does not practice on Wednesday, maybe doesn't practice on Thursday, and then, if he has any chance of playing, maybe he gets a limited practice in on Friday. We just got to see how the week plays out. But if Jacobs misses, then Wilson is a guy that has to be in your starting lineup. And then again, it depends. How badly do you need a starter this week, or at least an option in case the guy starts? If you need Emmanuel Wilson this week, I think I would drop 8 to 10 fab bucks. I would maybe spend 15 if you have Josh Jacobs. Protect yourself, get the handcuff, get the insurance policy. If you're good at running back, if you've got good options and you don't need to worry about your backs this week, then, you can try to drop $6 to $8 on Christian Watson, $7 to $8 on Watson, maybe a little bit more if you have a bunch of guys on bye, or if you've got guys who are injured. It all depends on your specific situation. There's never a finite number of fab that I would ever recommend, like just blanket statement, unless a dude went down for the season and a guy was stepping into a prominent role permanently for the rest of the way. These waiver wire options this week are all very interesting, but they're also all very situational. Do you have Josh Jacobs? Then prioritize Emmanuel Wilson. Double the fab bid that you were thinking of dropping. If you were thinking of dropping 10, drop 15 to 20 if you have Jacobs. If you don't have Jacobs, but you need some running back depth, maybe drop 8 to 10 bucks. Do you have Marvin Harrison, or are you hurting at wide receiver? Did you just lose Drake London to injury? Drop 10 to 12 go up a little more if you have Christian Watson and you're really hurt. If you've got Cortland Sutton or Ladd McConkey or Deebo Samuel or Jalen Waddle on bye this week and you really need a guy. Like, it all depends on your roster, what you need, and what position is a greater need for you depending on your roster makeup. That's the beauty of it, right? There's no one true answer here. And I'm not saying that as a cop-out answer. I'm saying that because there's a lot of interesting guys. There's a lot of intriguing names this week. But if I have Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor and, Travion Henderson and I picked up Rico Dowdle and I already have like a Jalen Warren, I'm loaded at running back. I don't need Emmanuel Wilson. But maybe I have Drake London, who just got hurt. Maybe I have Jalen Waddle, who's on bye this week. Maybe I have Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen, who are on bye this week. Okay, then I need Christian Watson a little bit more. I need Michael Wilson a little bit more. On the flip side, if I drafted CeeDee Lamb in the middle of round 1 and JSN was available to me in middle of round 2 and I took that plunge, and then I got George Pickens late, in the 4th or 5th round, and I'm loaded at wide receiver. Or if I drafted Rashee Rice in round 7 or 8 because I took the roll of the dice and I was able to pair him with all those other names I just mentioned, then I'm good at wide receiver. I don't need Christian Watson. I don't need Michael Wilson. That's the beauty of it. You can address this waiver period specifically as it pertains to your needs. There isn't one like, go get this guy. Kenny Gainwell might be the closest thing to that this week. But, I think he's pretty well rostered. Or Bishal Tootin. If you need a running back and you miss on Wilson, Tootin looks like he's getting an expanded role. Hell, maybe Ramondre Stevenson was dropped in your league. Might as well take a chance. Like, the coaching staff, for whatever reason, loves the guy. I think he's expected to return to practice this week. I mean, they play the Cincinnati Bengals. Any one of us could suit up at running back and get 10 half PPR points against the Bengals. So, I mean, if that guy's available and you could use a running back, maybe somebody dropped him because Henderson looks like the truth, which he does. Yeah, it depends on your roster makeup as far as how to attack this waiver period. Trade question. Do you trade away Jefferson for Smith and T. Higgins? I am okay with this trade, but I am not crazy about acquiring. Devontae Smith is awesome. Let that be very clear. Devontae Smith rocks. What doesn't rock right now is the Eagles' offense, who are now going to be without Lane Johnson for probably like 6 weeks with a Lisfranc injury. That's the rest of the fantasy season. That's it. This Eagles offense is already struggling. They're probably going to struggle even more now for the rest of the way without Lane Johnson. That makes Saquon and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith even more volatile than they already were. And by their expectations, they've been pretty volatile, probably with Devontae being the most stable one. I'm okay with this. Jefferson is obviously, his ceiling is not the same this year because J.J. McCarthy is not playing well and doesn't look good. The Vikings offense is a shell of what it was last year. So if you want to move off of Jefferson for Higgins and Smith, I do think that's fair. And Higgins obviously gets a boost this week with no Jamar Chase. And Burrow coming back soon, so that's, even more good news for Higgins. I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk for me, though, because Devontae Smith feels like he's incredibly volatile because the Eagles' offense hasn't been good and they just lost Lane Johnson for the rest of maybe the regular season. You did lose Drake London as well, so that hurts. Oh, and you have CD? You've CD, you and Jefferson? And okay. I mean, sure. Because if you have CD and then you also are getting Higgins and Smith, you lost Drake London. You may not be able to rely on him for the rest of the way. I mean, he could return in a couple of weeks. Oh, it's a 6-man league. Okay. Sure. I'm okay with it because Jefferson doesn't have the ceiling that he usually does because the Vikings offense isn't great and Drake London is hurt. And if he comes back, it's going to be to a bad offense because Kirk Cousins looks like a shell of himself and Penix is probably done for the year. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking the trade. I'm okay with it. How do I feel about Woody this week? Not great. It's a good matchup, but he had a good matchup this past week against Tennessee and didn't do anything. I mean, I want to like Woody Marks. But he had a beautiful opportunity and he didn't take advantage of it. They get the Bills on Thursday night. He did get, he did become the bell, like he kind of became the bell cow this week, though. He had 19 opportunities to Nick Chubb's 5. Chubb had 3 carries and 2 targets. Woody had 18 carries and 1 target. So Woody is the bell cow. I guess I would put him at an RB3 this week because of the matchup. I would have liked to seen a little bit more than 18 carries for 44 yards in a great matchup against Tennessee. I guess Jeffrey Simmons was back for them this week, so that made things a little bit tougher, but still, it was a good matchup on paper. Woody's an RB3. He's an RB3. He's a tough sell to start, but he's not a drop. He's a tough sell to start, but he's not a drop. And yeah, I would try to shake things up. Look, the Eagles, at the beginning of the season, the Eagles looked like one of the obvious offenses to invest in, right? Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Those are stars, especially for fantasy. They were fantasy studs. Saquon has just been okay. Hurts has only just been okay. He's been a QB1, but more of like a mid to low end QB1 as opposed to a stud slam dunk QB1. A.J. Brown, obviously we already know what's going on there. It's not been good. And then Devontae Smith has probably been the best one relative to expectations, but again, the Eagles' offense is probably not going to be as good without Lane Johnson. And they already weren't that good. So yes, if you can shake things up, if you can turn Saquon into another stud running back, if you can turn Devontae into a comparable wide receiver in an offense with a little bit more upside, like I'm okay with I'm okay with kicking the tires. Don't sell just to sell, but I am definitely in favor of shaking it up. It's hard to trust them right now. The Eagles. Yeah, if you have Eagles on your team, I'm okay with shaking it up. And yeah, again, with Michael Wilson, we got to see what happens with Marvin Harrison. I don't think we've gotten any updates about Marvin Harrison's status for Week 12. Now, it's possible Wilson just stays a baller even if Harrison comes back, but we don't know yet. We have no idea when he's going to come back. If it's this week, then we'll approach Michael Wilson, when the time comes. He's worth a pickup. If you need a wide receiver, Michael Wilson is absolutely worth a pickup. As far as whether we start him, come back Thursday or Saturday if you can. I run a Thursday stream ahead of Thursday Night Football, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I run a start-sit stream on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's when we're closer to the slate. We have injury updates. We have practice reports. We know who's likely going to play or likely going to miss. That will include Marvin Harrison, and we can make a definitive call on Michael Wilson closer to the start of Week 12. Yep. Okay, we are once again at the end of the chat. I guess really quickly, just want to thank everybody for coming in this evening. Talk shop. Special shout out to all my members. I saw Greg. I saw Kevin. I saw Sport Dog. I saw Fortune. I saw E111. I saw Bobby. I saw Nemo. Darius. Sorry. Did I see Crumply Heads? I did see Crumply Heads. Crumply Heads is the 1 seed in 2 leagues. Big money moves. Big money moves. I think those were all of the members that I saw today. Yes, those are all of the members that I saw today. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for the support as always. Thank you to Ray for your super. Much appreciated. Just a quick, FYI. Again, I will be live on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of Bills Texans. I will also be live on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for start, sit, help. I am now streaming on Twitch. If you prefer to use Twitch, you can find me at facemask_fantasy is my handle. You can also join me in Discord. That is the second link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. You can ask questions over there. You can also crowdsource from the community. That is a free evergreen invite. And I agree. Get your guys. Get the guys that make the most sense for your roster makeup. But I think that'll do it for me tonight with us at the end of the chat. Lots of good options on the waiver wire tonight. Prioritize what makes the most sense for your team. If you need a running back this week, Emmanuel Wilson. If you're looking for a running back for the rest of the season, Bishal Tootin. If you need a wide receiver this week, Michael Wilson, Christian Watson. Watson, I guess, is a little bit more of a what feels like a definitive thing in the Packers offense. Michael Wilson might be tentative based on the availability of Marvin Harrison, but he looked so good on Sunday, he's worth a pickup regardless of Harrison's status. It all depends on what you need. Jacoby Brissett, a fine streamer in quarterbacks, in one quarterback situations. Jawan Johnson, worth a pickup at tight end if you need a tight end. But I think that'll do it. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out tonight. I will see you guys on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of Bills Texans. Otherwise, you can ask a question in the form of a comment on any video stream on the channel, or you can hit me in Discord. I think that'll do it. Appreciate everybody coming in tonight. Enjoy your Tuesday. I will see you guys on Thursday. Thanks, everybody.